I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. It's Tuesday.
So that text message wasn't childish, it was childless. Okay, good. Good to know. They were insulting us for a second. No.
Phone lines hot on this one. John Hickenlooper out with a campaign ad that features a young boy. When you first look at it, you think, oh, grandfather, grandson. Nope. It's grandfather, or it's father and son. And John Hickenlooper having his child when he was 70 years old. Is that too old? Listen to the ad here.
When I go like this, you say, you look at the camera and you go, vote for Dad.
Vote for Dad.
Perfect. All right, ready? Hi, this is John Hickenlooper. I'm here with baby Jack Hickenlooper, living proof that there's one miracle left in each of us. And the reason why I continue to fight in every way I can for Colorado and for this country. I'm running for re-election. I'm going to need everybody's support and your vote.
Vote for Dad.
Good work. Thanks, Jack. You can go back to eat your lunch.
Sounds like a grandfather thing to say.
Yeah, it does.
You go back and eat your lunch, Jack.
Yeah.
Instead of stop picking your nose, which is what actual parents have to say.
Or
all right.
the other one for me, though, is, the idea of you can go back to eating your lunch. That was a grandfather thing to say because I'm sorry, but the father side of me on that one is like, great job, Jack. Now let's go see what we have for lunch. More of an inclusionary. And what I'm saying is the idea that I'm going to go experience this with you, son, rather than pushing them off into go off and do this without me. Now, again, it could just be my interpretation, but that's just what I heard. And that final statement, it's weird that you pointed it out because that's what I heard. I was like, huh. For me, it would have been inclusionary.
But, well, in my mind, I have a different take on it because when you're in the parent, it's more of like a management. So you're the direct manager of your entire kid's lives as the parent. So it's like, all right, time to finish lunch now. Like you're setting the parameters. Like this is where we're now going to finish eating. By the way, finish eating your vegetables or eat your fruit. Come on.
Yeah. It's why in our house. It's why in our house, because we were the direct managers of the little children, that for years the rule was all complaints need to be submitted in writing. It helps out for the first 6 years. They can't complain about crap.
That's great. Let's go to the phone lines. Jacqueline in Nebraska. Good morning, Jacqueline. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning, guys. You make me laugh this morning. My older sister's 11 years older than I am, but she was born in 1939, and she married a gentleman who was married in 1923. He's a World War II veteran. She had her fifth child when she was 45 years old, I believe. She had her fifth child. She had a very rough pregnancy, had a hard time with that. Martin died. He died in 2010, and she passed away in 2019. But little Marty was old enough to take care of himself then, but he was born in 1993. And my sister at that age, when he was up and around, was in her 60s. In her early 50s. She taught him how to play baseball. She taught him how to run, how to catch a ball. She was the dad. She was the mother, but she was also the dad because Martin was too old. He was a VA disability from World War II and couldn't do a whole lot of physical stuff. Martin missed out on a lot of things. He missed out on a lot of things that dads do.
What did you see? Yeah, Jackson, what did you see growing up based on your nephew and that relationship? And what did you hear from your sister about some of the challenges that might have been different with the younger kids versus raising this really, really youngster when her husband was so old?
Well, the four older kids, 2 boys and 2 girls, they pretty much were pretty independent. They all kind of had jobs and did their own things. I think Martin was spoiled. I think my sister spent an awful lot of time maybe coddling him where the other kids didn't. They kind of got out on their own. Both of them went into the service, the boys did. The girls all went to school. They put themselves through school. When she married this boy's father, my brother-in-law, he was an executive for Hughes Aircraft, so he had money, which she didn't have before. So she could pay to have a lot of things done that she didn't with the kids, with the older kids. But I do think that he missed out on a lot of stuff because my husband and I were down there on a visit, and he wasn't very old. He was, I would say, maybe 13, 14 at that time. My husband took him to look at new Chevy trucks, and that to him was a big deal. That's something that my brother-in-law wouldn't have done.
Yeah, that word coddling is interesting because that becomes the role of a grandparent, right? Like when my kids go hang out with my parents, it's lots of candy and ice cream and cookies and spoiling and all that stuff. But when you're the parent, it's the vegetables, it's the fruit, it's the guidance there. And there's a role for both of them. And when you mix those ages, you blend them. You blend that coddling a little bit. Jacqueline, Nebraska, sure appreciate the call. Thanks so much. You. Jacqueline's line will be open 303-696-1971. John Hickenlooper, 73, in a campaign video with his 3-year-old son. What do you think about that? Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. Now is time for news and comment. Mr. Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good Tuesday morning, 27, and mostly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 49 today. We'll see some snow more than likely tomorrow. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, another stolen car and 2 more deaths as a result in Aurora on Monday. The suspect fled northbound on Peoria, failed to yield, driving erratically, veered into oncoming lanes, and crashed into a traffic light pole. Both the driver and the passengers were killed on impact. Thankfully, they didn't kill other drivers. The White House doubled down Monday on its use of lethal force against Venezuelan drug boats, with Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying all aspects of the September strike were legal. DJT giving commie dictator Nicolas Maduro an ultimatum on his future there. China and Russia are not sprinting to support him in Venezuela. That is great news. 47 trying to rid the corruption in Venezuela and the Caribbean that may involve U.S. deep state commies. Another pre-trial hearing for Luigi Mangione is being held today in New York City as his attorneys look to potentially suppress evidence in his case. Horrible, just horrible. He murders someone in cold blood on video, and now we're talking about suppressing evidence. Russian President Putin is meeting with the U.S. at the Kremlin today as talks to end the war in Ukraine continue. Special envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are taking part in today's talks. Tennessee's special House election is today between Democrat Afton Bain, a complete nut job, and Republican Matt Van Epps. That has unexpectedly turned into a tight race, according to the latest polls. And Candace Owens responding to one of her critics, Adam Sosnick, on the PBD podcast, Patrick Bet David. Adam Sosnick says no famous people are in her corner or her friends.
I'm asking you a serious question. Who are her friends at this point? Well, to me, she's very lonely.
No, I think she's very close with Tucker. I do think she has a group
How many
of
more
friends.
can you name, though? Other than Tucker,
yeah.
Genuine question. I'm not trying to throw her under the bus. Who's Candace's friends? Who are her allies?
Okay, so then Candace says all that is garbage and doesn't mean anything, but this does. And I agree.
Because that's how politics work. They all stab each other in the back, and they all do it because they think they're on the pursuit of like fame and riches. We are not going to save the West in general from the absolute sexual deviants that run it, the liars and the crooks that run the West, if we have the attitude that we need to be well liked by famous people who are all drunk. Truly, they're all just a bunch of drunks hanging out in D.C. That's the reality of the political field. Get real value in your life.
Yes. I agree. All right, it's going to be an interesting week on Candace, and I'll be watching, and I'll give you the highlights tomorrow. The Patriots have won 10 straight after a 33-15 win over the Giants on Monday Night Football. Pats are 11-2. College football playoff rankings released tonight, and more than likely there will be a shakeup at the top. As number 3 Texas A&M was upset by number 16 Texas in the regular season finale. The top 4 teams will receive a first-round bye, so get your brackets ready. Mavericks beat the Nuggets 131-121. Canucks at the Avalanche tonight in Lodo at 7. And Billy told me about this Dutch soccer match. The fans or supporters are absolutely nuts. They set off huge fireworks and flares in the stands.
Yes,
and the video is frightening. What are they doing?
Yeah, it looks like a riot.
Yeah, I've said this for years. Soccer fans are on another level. That we Americans go, oh, we're crazy NFL fans. We're crazy NBA. No, you have no idea.
But it's
how
the
many times have you brought
that
something
you create
flammable?
So many problems that they don't even play the game.
I'm just
like
saying
that doesn't seem smart to me.
I did not say that soccer fans are smarter, myself included. I am saying we're on a different level, and we make some very questionable choices. I can't imagine a single NFL fan this weekend turning to their buddies and going, do you think we could get something flammable into the stadium? And then release it when we score? Yeah. And then imagine the awkward conversation with your buddy about, yeah, where are we going to hide these road flares? This is going to be, I don't know. This is an uncomfortable conversation.
Blake, I just got a text message from an unnamed lawmaker. I can't tell you who it is, but they just said, yes, Candace is exactly right, that politicians are just a bunch of drunks looking to be famous.
Amen. Whoever that person is, vote for him or her or support him or her. You said it's a politician? No.
It is a currently elected official in Colorado.
Yes. Amen to that. I love it. Hey, I think back to Billy real quick. I think it's because there's not enough violence on the field. See, we get the violent attacks and the collision sport.
Yeah, see, I disagree because again, NBA fans don't do it, and NHL is very violent, and show up with road flares there.
True.
So I disagree. And the other part is this: there's something a little bit different about soccer in and of itself. Because when's the last time on the soccer field, or on the football field, or NBA where you saw 2 teammates fight each other? That happened just last week.
Yeah, that is true.
That just happened.
That is true.
Yeah, one teammate hit the other teammate, and you're like, he got red carded for assaulting his own teammate. He got tossed off the field. So, no.
And we're getting a lot of spitting.
Yeah,
that's what we're getting.
There is a lot, but that has been that's been so it's sort of passe in soccer now. But that was big, 80s and 90s. You had a lot of that. There were a lot of red cards that were. The Italians were fantastic at the subtle spit internationally. Mm-hmm. They were really good at just kind of little.
Yeah, I've seen that. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, they were really good at that. Yeah.
Well, they are crazy though. They're nuts. You guys are nuts.
Yeah, we are.
Unbelievable.
Again, I want to make a note of this. Didn't say smarter. Said crazier, which is not a good thing.
Yes, it's a cultural thing, no doubt. 26 in Parker, 25 in Louisville, 27 in Denver. You're waking up with Jeff and Billy. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
A winter weather advisory is in effect midnight tonight through 6 p.m. tomorrow. Mostly cloudy today. Temperatures will be a bit more mild, making the 40s. Tonight, however, developing snow, starting with snow showers this evening, then a steadier snow overnight, lows in the low to mid-20s. A good chance of snow Wednesday, especially early in the day, tapering off by late afternoon and evening. Could see 2 to 4 inches of new snow total by late tomorrow. Highs tomorrow upper 20s, teens tomorrow night. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Kristi Noem calls for a full travel ban on countries flooding the U.S. with immigrants after the D.C. attack. Here's her post yesterday on X. I just met with the president. I'm recommending a full travel ban on every darn country. She doesn't say darn. She says a different word. That's been flooding our nation with killers, leeches, and entitlement junkies. Our forefathers built this nation on blood, sweat, and the unyielding love of freedom, not for foreign invaders to slaughter our heroes, suck dry our hard-earned tax dollars, or snatch the benefits owed to Americans. We don't want them, all caps, not one, all caps. Whoa! Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem has announced on Monday that she is recommending a sweeping travel ban on every country she claims is sending dangerous immigrants to the United States. She has slammed certain immigrants as threats to public safety and accused them of draining resources meant for Americans. The announcement came after law enforcement officials have reported that the Afghan immigrant who attacked, allegedly, two National Guard members last Wednesday, just from the White House, was going to be charged with murder. Noem has criticized the process, the Operation Allies Welcome. By the way, we talked about this yesterday. This was what got the process that kind of resettled a lot of the Afghan refugees that had worked with the United States from Afghanistan. But Noem has criticized the process, asserting that the latest shooter, Lachenwall, this is now the second shooter, because there was a shooting in April of law enforcement by another Afghan refugee, was not properly vetted and was blaming the Biden administration for what she described as inadequate screening of Afghans and other foreign nationals during former President Joe Biden's term. So what do you think of this effort to call for a full travel ban from these third world countries, Mr. Thorpe?
Yeah, this is just weird. Again, I didn't see a full list of where they're going for, but the other part that makes me curious, and we've seen this in the Trump administration, is now we need to be looking for certain types of skilled immigrants that only if you reach certain levels are you going to be allowed in, or if you have certain, hygiene practices or something else. And we've gone through this as far as America, but that wasn't the promise when we were talking about America as the melting pot. And the poem that is on the base of the Statue of Liberty says exactly the worst of the worst is the refuse. It's not the idea of getting in all the criminals in here. That's different. But inside of the poem, it does talk about accepting those that are viewed as garbage in their societies elsewhere around the world, and that this is a place that is welcoming and open to you. Yet,
do you think that's good?
From Kristi Noem, yes.
To be the place where the world sends its garbage?
Yes, because so far, what has it done for America? We have become the dominant economy on the planet. We have the strongest military on the planet. We have the reserve. We have the reserve dollar.
Because the quote unquote garbage was sent to America. That's what made us the strongest country in the world.
Yeah, the people that were rejected by other countries, the colonists that came here, were seeking to get away from repression. To get away, they were considered outcasts and garbage in some of the societies they were in. Yes, that is the foundational.
Hold on. You think that the pilgrims that came to this country are on the same level as Venezuelan gang members that inhabited Aurora recently?
Hang on a sec, though. Gang members, based on criminals, that I specifically, in my paragraph above, outlined that gang members and those engaged in criminal activity are different. That's outside of the boundaries. I don't see anything inside of the promise of America. Send us your criminals. That's different. So when you say Venezuelan gang members,
correct?
No, that would be outside the purview of how America was created. Sure.
So some garbage, not all garbage.
Well, here's the thing: is the idea is it refers to the refuse. This basically. So the idea is that is the people that are viewed as garbage inside of their societies, the people that are unworthy of being taken care of, the people that are that are outcasts. That was it. That was the promise. That was why people came here. That's why the Irish escaped during the potato famine, a bunch of other things, it was that. It was the idea of being able to make something out of yourself when your home country views you as worthless. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I find it phenomenally egotistical and a complete lack of our historical development here in America to say, these countries, we don't want you anymore. But then again, this is the same administration that if you have enough money, will fast track and give you a really special Visa card that'll give you access to the country. And they can also sell off citizenship, evidently, because that's also available for the highest bidder. So evidently, the promise that we have that was foundational to the country, so important so that it was inscribed in a poem on the base of the Statue of Liberty, it's too old.
A poem?
Yeah.
A poem?
Too
well,
passé.
We definitely can't violate the poem.
Well, it would be the idea and the spirit of why America was created. And I'm pretty certain that in all world history classes, we were taught about America being the melting pot and people that were seeking refuge from other countries.
What I find fascinating in this worldview is this kind of lumping of all cultures together. That, well, if you're rejected by your culture, clearly you must be good and brought to America. And you can come to us with all the cultural problems that you have, and somehow we'll make it work here. That poem was specifically written about Jewish Eastern European refugees who are culturally different, for instance, than Somali refugees. It has nothing to do with race. But even the New York Times is looking at the amount of corruption that was taking place in Somalia, just came here to the United States, and Minnesota is dealing with some of the worst corruption that this country has ever seen. Even the New York Times saying it is in part culturally based. So what you get with this, bring us your tired, your huddled masses yearning for freedom, this poem that was never even part of the original gift anyways. It was part of the fundraising effort to create the base for the Statue of Liberty, has somehow become this commandment that we must follow with regards to our immigration that essentially, in my mind, brings about open borders.
No, I never said it was any sort of a commandment, but it is an ideology behind it, and it is the theory behind it. And part of the reason that statue was erected, and part of the philosophy behind America at its core. Now, if you reject that philosophy and that ideology, go right ahead. Never said it was any sort of a commandment, but this was some of the foundational principles and ideas behind this country. If we've decided that we have advanced beyond that, and we now need to control and sell off citizenship and who comes here based on if you're willing to pay or not, okay, go ahead, but just be open with it.
I think there's a lot of assumptions, Bill. I think there's
a
lot of assumptions, and one of the primary assumptions is that the immigration that took place during the 1700s, 1800s, and 1900s was global immigration. You had primarily European immigration that took place here. You had Chinese immigration that took place here. You didn't have a lot of immigration from pretty much everywhere. And one of the underlying assumptions in the argument that you're making, Mr. Thorpe, is that pretty much all cultures are the same. Let's just bring them all here. And somehow the assimilation process will take place. I don't think you're seeing assimilation all that much. I think you're now starting to see this compartmentalization that's taking place, and you're getting some bad representatives as a result of it. Look what's happening in Minnesota.
That was the same argument in the 1910s, 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, that these people aren't assimilating. Just pick whatever nationality you want. That's why we have Chinatown. That's why there are Italian neighborhoods inside of New York. Same thing. It was the exact same discussion, the exact same denigration, that they can't, then won't assimilate. Why do they need their own Chinatown? Why do we have this area for the Germans? That's same thing. But people will automatically, basically conglomerate with people that they are familiar with and can share some common background. But they still were able to assimilate into America. And what we saw inside of Somalia, in the Somalians and the case in Minnesota, yes, there were a lot of people that were involved in that. But it wasn't all the Somalians And again, remember, the Somalians were supposed to be the ones eating the dogs and the cats, according to Donald Trump
No,
and
those
J.D.
were
Vance.
the Haitians.
Oh, Haitians. But still, no dogs, no cats
And
being eaten.
not Minnesota, Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio. But I'm saying those are the ones that are supposed to
different communities.
Yeah, but again, it still was a community that was coming in here and eating dogs and cats. Still wasn't true. Doesn't matter if it was a Somali community or the Haitian community. Still was a lie about an immigrant community used to denigrate them and say they don't belong here and they're not working. That's it. Same thing. And I don't see any indication that, outside of this issue inside of Minnesota, that Somalis were coming here and not working, not assimilating. I don't see that at all either. And so that's it. I mean, again, but if we want to change the idea of America being a melting pot, okay, then let's have the discussion. But we've just had this edict from Kristi Noem. No, sorry, we're just going to decide these countries can't come here anymore. Okay, fine, whatever. We've done that before. No Irish, no Chinese, no Italians, and that didn't actually, that's not one of the best eras of our history in which you look on that and say, gosh, we sure did the right thing back then.
Yeah, I mean, Bill, I just think, again, you're lumping everybody together and going, all cultures can come to America and assimilate and learn English, embrace constitutional principles, embrace the Judeo-Christian worldview. Would you disagree with a community becoming predominantly Muslim?
No. Why would that be an issue?
Because that's not assimilation.
But hang on, if a community is dominantly Christian, that's not necessarily assimilation. That's just identification based on religion. We have no indication that the Muslim community isn't following America's principles.
Really? Yeah. I mean, have you heard of Sharia law before?
Hang on. A Muslim community is different than a community that on their own is enforcing Sharia law. You can have Muslim communities that don't do that. So now you're the one that is making an assumption.
So
you're the one that is lumping. Hang on. Wait,
so
you're talking. Wait, hang on a sec.
Muslim countries
you were saying,
or the communities are okay.
You were saying that I was lumping all cultures in together, and you lumped an entire religion into one faction of that religion and said that's the only way they function. But again, continue. What's the question about Sharia law?
So as long as the Muslim communities don't embrace Sharia law, you're okay. And you would consider that assimilation. They just cannot bring Sharia law to America.
As long as they follow our rules and laws, I'm okay with it. Yes, and Sharia law, in my mind, would be outside of our current judicial system, and I would not be okay with that because of how they look at crime and punishment. And there are some social things inside there which their punishments are not okay based on the American judicial system.
Sure.
And I would say
with you on that.
Any community, and hang on, any community that comes here and wants to enforce their cultural practices outside of American law would not be okay. There are communities inside of Africa that have some really questionable ideas about basically female circumcision. Wouldn't allow that here.
Okay.
Wouldn't say we can say
how
that.
Do you prevent that from
wouldn't
happening?
happen. What do you mean by how do you prevent it?
How do you prevent that from happening? What's stopping a Muslim community from enforcing Sharia law?
That probably would be the police force and anybody else inside the community that says, "Hey, don't enforce this here." Basically, that's it. Or
what happens if they get 50 plus 1%? They get to control representation. We're government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So they get dominant control of the community. They now start writing the laws.
Yep.
They write Sharia law into law.
Yep.
Okay. What stops that?
The fact that you can't have the government anoint a religion. That's what stops it, is the idea that you can't turn and say, because my religious text says this, we need to make it a law for everybody. That's what would make it unconstitutional. That's what would protect that from happening.
That actually wouldn't make it unconstitutional.
Yeah, it would.
No, because you can bring your values in and say, because my values believe this law, for instance, the right to life, begins at conception. You have pro-life states. Those aren't unconstitutional. So you're allowed to bring your religion into the public square. That doesn't make something unconstitutional.
But you can't say.
Hang on
a sec. Wait, no. You're dancing the line. I appreciate that, but that's somewhat incorrect, because if you come and say abortion has to be illegal because my Bible says so, and we're going to enact this law because my Bible says so, now you got an issue, especially if the area, like let's say that the state says that abortion's legal, and then you come in on another area and say, nope, because my Bible says so, we're going to make it illegal here inside of this community, that would be found unconstitutional. Same thing. If they are going to use their religious text as the rationalization and the basis for that law, that's a problem and will be declared unconstitutional. You have to be able to make the secular argument, not the religious argument. Yes,
no,
you do.
You don't.
Yes, you do.
What world do you live in where the only arguments in the public square have to be secular?
No.
That you could write laws all day based upon your values and your principles and beliefs. What you can't do is force adherence to a particular church. That's what the first Constitution
and a particular set of religious tenets.
No.
Yes.
No, you cannot.
Yes. Yes, you can enforce it based on law.
Bill, you've been completely indoctrinated into this belief that only secular laws can be created. There's no such thing as a secular law, Bill.
Jeff, that's not what I said. I said you need to be able to make the secular argument. That's what I said. That if your sole
says what law?
Hang on. If your sole argument for the particular law is because my religion says so, it will be declared unconstitutional. Because you can't have the government pick a religion and then enforce its necessary laws. Can't do it that way. You have to be able to make.
Show me where that's stated, because that's not written in the Constitution.
Well, we have a whole bunch of Supreme Court rules about that. That's why we have questions about whether or not you can post the 10 Commandments inside of schools, because that would be the government.
And that's being challenged right now.
And so far it has been found unconstitutional. And that's the government coming in and saying, here is a particular religion, and we're going to hold that above the others, and we're going to follow rules based on it. That would be the same thing with Sharia law. It would be found unconstitutional.
Okay, so again, what's stopping Sharia law from becoming a law of a community, right, is because it's not secular. In your mind. Yeah. In your mind. That's what's stopping it.
In part that, and it also violates other extant laws inside the community and probably the state. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just think that's ignorant. I think you're in a world one where secular is somehow esteemed and doesn't have any type of moral basis, right? That's
not what I said at all. Not at all.
I think that's exactly what you're saying.
No, not in the least. What I said is you can't point back to the religious text as being the only
that's
source.
Not constitutional.
That's
you
what
keep
I'm saying.
saying this as if
that's what I said. It's not constitutional.
Arguing a law is moral is somehow the establishment of a church. That's not what it is.
When the government enforces the laws of the church, it does become that, and that's what the courts have ruled. Yes.
Okay, thou shalt not murder. Where's that from, Bill?
There are a lot of different sources and a lot of different religions that have that. Okay. And
so not secular.
It is. It is secular. Yeah. We made the decision because it's a conglomeration of a lot of different rules. And even goes back to even English common law. There's a whole bunch of reasons for it.
Bill, what is English common law based on?
But hang on. But again, we made the argument based on the fact that it's not choosing a religious text or enforcing religious laws. We had influence, yes, but you also make the secular rule inside of the community that everybody else has to is held to it as well.
You don't see you're privileging secular right now?
No. No, not at all. No. Because that's how the country's set up, is that the state can't choose a religion. So the state can't choose a religious text to base laws on directly.
The state can't establish a religion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
And which so far the courts have held.
Or violate the free exercise thereof.
Yep.
Okay. Right. So we're not establishing a state religion.
But the courts have said that yes, when you're doing things that are based on that religious text solely, that is establishing a state religion when you're using that as the premise for the laws. That's why the 10 Commandments in the schools gets knocked down routinely. Same thing. That's why.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No. Okay. Let's go back to the original argument here. Okay? The original argument is that there needs to be some guidance with regards to who we let into our country. Because in your mind, we can just allow all people, with the exceptions that they might be criminals, and they're going to assimilate. And I said to you, what happens if you get a community together of the people, by the people, and for the people, and they decide that they want to abide by rules and laws that are influenced by Sharia law? And your one argument that this could be stopped is the establishment of a church argument. That's stopping that.
That's where it would start, and also there are portions of Sharia that would violate current laws.
So they just change them. Look what's happening in Europe.
What?
They're changing the laws.
Into Sharia?
Yes.
Okay. Where?
Europe. England.
Just in general?
England.
I don't think England's following Sharia law.
You don't? You don't see the impact of lots of Muslims in that country and the threat it's having on freedom?
Hang on. The impact of Muslims is a different statement than threat on freedom, which is a different statement than Sharia law. Those are three different things that can be judged on a continuum.
Okay.
And yes, there is a lot of Muslim immigration inside of Europe.
Right. How's that affecting Europe?
I haven't seen the impact on lack of freedoms per se, and I haven't seen the implicit enforcement of Sharia law either in that area.
And what's stopping them?
I don't know. Again, don't know, but don't know as far as why it's not there. But I don't agree with you that that Sharia law is taking over Europe. I just don't see it. I mean, again, I can be wrong. I can be shown examples. I don't see it. I don't see these instances. I hear about neighborhoods and things like that, but I see, in very, very minimal cases do I see that. But I also see other violence on the other end because of it as well. But yeah.
I just find it ignorant that we're just like, bring lots of people in from lots of different places, failed countries, for instance, or even Muslim countries, and we put them all together, and we think that America is just going to continue to chug along because of some commitment to secularism. Well, like that is I think, like I said, ignorant. I think it's I don't think you're paying attention to the way the world can shift, and you wouldn't raise your daughter in a predominantly Muslim country. You don't want that. You see the lack of freedoms there, and yet we're going to go back to some poem that was at the basis of the Statue of Liberty and go, well, bring us your tired, your masses, your yearning for freedom, with this notion that, they'll just all assimilate and everything will work out. Because it did with the Irish.
I don't know. I'm still looking for Sharia law inside of Europe. I can't find it anywhere. I mean, not a recognized legal system in Germany. There are some influences inside of Greece. They do have some arbitration councils that are for alternate dispute resolutions inside of United Kingdom, but that's for civil matters, not necessarily legal matters. Yeah, but so there are some things. There are some things there that you couldn't go ahead and you wouldn't be able to have honor killings and things like that. So I can't find anywhere where Sharia law is fully enforced anywhere inside of a European country. But again, I'm the one that's being called ignorant here. I don't see your examples happening. That's the issue. I think you're scared of shadows.
You're not okay. Well, I mean, okay, go live in a 70+% Islamic country.
I don't have the financial means to do that.
Why not? Why wouldn't you want to live in a predominantly Muslim country? Jeff. You just told me we need to bring in our masses to America. See, I actually think...
I didn't say masses of Muslims. I just said immigrants. You see, this is the thing is you keep trying to color this.
Why not?
Fine, bring in lots of Muslims. I don't care. I have Muslim friends. I haven't ever had an issue with them.
But why not live in a predominantly Muslim country?
In all honesty, Jeff, because of finances. I mean, if you're sitting there going, oh, if you love it so much, just go. I can't afford to.
Because, Bill, I think there's an underlying assumptions in your argument.
I can't afford to.
You want to be this great person that welcomes everybody into America. And I actually think what the underlying argument is, it's only a few. Because you want to live in the countries they came from. You want to live in predominantly Muslim countries. And so you want to paint yourself as this great, welcoming person. But at the end of the day, it's only a few.
No, completely and totally wrong. And part of it being, and I was clear on this, is it's dependent upon assimilation as well, and then coming into the country. And I see no indications that they're not. There are certain pockets that, are slower to adopt and such. But I saw the Somalis. They seem to be assimilating. So the Haitians seem to be assimilating. And I see Muslims that come in seem to be assimilating. And there are some that have some struggles with it, and there's some that don't. But that's it. I'm not willing to paint with an entirely large brush and say, well, all those people obviously can't ever possibly be Americans. That's just not our history. That's not how that's not how the country was set up.
And I think at the end of the day, your argument is based on small numbers. Because the minute that they actually get control, you wouldn't want to live in those communities. All right, we'll continue. We're up against a break. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking Kristi Noem calling for full travel ban on countries flooding the U.S. with immigrants. After D.C. attack took place, she met with the president, and they want to go after, quote-unquote, third world countries. Is this a violation of America's promise? The poem written at the base of the Statue of Liberty saying, give us your tired, huddled masses yearning for freedom? Or do we have to have some regulation with regards to who comes to this country? You need to be a net benefit, and we can't just allow in masses of people to the point where their communities are no longer assimilating and they're creating problems for America. I think it's happening in Europe. There's too many people that aren't from Western Europe, and the populations are starting to affect the laws. They're starting to affect the cohesion. And when we say we want tired, huddled masses yearning for freedom, we actually only mean a few. Not so many that they're actually changing the fabric of our communities. Let's go to Brandon in Denver. Good morning, Brandon. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, fellas. Good conversation here as always. Here we go. Here's the phrase, culture matters. Okay, culture matters. When it comes to the United States, like part of the reason why the states, 13 colonies, let's say, were able to be united is because they agreed to some things. The federal government cannot establish a religion, a state religion, federal, but the states, some of the states actually did have their state religion. The last two to get rid of it was Massachusetts and Connecticut. They had state religions. Now think about that for a moment. That's amazing, huh? That's amazing. So the states could do it if they wanted to, if their state assemblies wanted to, but it was agreed that the federal en masse, the whole chunk could not. See, so that's something that we have to keep in mind. Keep that in mind. States can do something, okay? Now, the second point that I want to make out is that slow organic growth, communities change, and it can be great kumbaya integration. You know, let's share the fried rice and then have Spanish rice. Like, I like it. America's great, but culture does matter. And some of the older countries, let's say the old world over there, they play the long game, fellas. Okay, even Europeans play the long game. Intergenerational, 100-year blocks, 1,000-year blocks. So America could indeed become something else. Again, those states could do something if they want to. And slow organic growth, they play the long game, whether you're talking China, African countries, the Middle East, even Europe, they're playing the long game. So I think America is kind of on some microwave, quick stuff, and we just think it's all good. But some of these countries, they play the long game, and I think Americans need to pay attention to that.
Now, Brandon, I'm not certain that states would be able to set up their own state religion, or at least say this is the state religion of Colorado per se, because I understand where you are originally with that, but since then, I believe courts have found the Establishment Clause also holds true to individual states, that an individual state can't set up a state religion, and part of that is the free exercise clause inside of the first that then prevents the state to tell you what religion you have to follow. So I think those two things together would probably prevent a state legally from establishing a state religion right now. But again, I'm not a lawyer, nor do I play one very well on the radio.
Me neither. And I mean, again, a state religion may be different than something, let's say, like the legalization of marijuana, right? Like, I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but I can tell you, Utah, I got friends in Utah, and I joke with them like, is this state something, and they just think, no, Brennan, but I'm telling you, federal wise, no states would agree. Whatever's going on in one state is not going to impact another. It's state by state. We're united, of course, but, again, if things shift, it could.
Brandon, to your point, culture really does matter. And my argument, though, is that numbers matter too, right? We've had illegal immigration since I can remember, since I was born. People have been coming across the border. What happened under the Biden administration was too many, and that triggered a whole bunch of response to it. And so while we love to stand on that poem at the pedestal of the Statue of Liberty, give us your tired, your huddled masses yearning for freedom. What we actually mean is just some. Because look at Colorado, 40,000 illegal immigrants bankrupted Denver.
Indeed.
Right? 170 Denver residents lost their jobs because the city of Denver spent $356 million servicing 40,000. It was about $9,000 per illegal immigrant. So I see in the progressive world it almost becomes this badge of almost like moral superiority. I believe in the welcoming of immigrants. No, what you actually believe is in the welcoming of some immigrants so long as they assimilate. And when Kristi Noem and Donald Trump go, hold on, we're going to make sure they come from the right country or we're going to limit this country, everyone runs out there and goes, well, this is racist, this is racist. All while living in predominantly white neighborhoods.
You're 100% right on that point, and it speaks to, father Great Britain. What's going on over there? Okay, and I say father because it's like America is like the adolescent child of Great Britain. It's kind of a joke there, but it's not a joke. It is a badge of honor to welcome people in, and I understand the Statue of Liberty and all that, but again, if they don't assimilate, then it's going to be slow, organic change, and it could be something else 1,000 years from now. It's not. I'm not morally judging anyone who wants to do that or is interested in that, but what I would say is it's just science. It's just going to change over time if someone isn't directing and controlling what's going on. And again, in Europe, they've chosen to do some things, and it just is what it is. You see.
Brandon, sure appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Yeah, Brandon's line is open. If you want to join the conversation, 303-696-1971. Guys, let's talk the gun room. Great opportunities. If you're looking for new, used, antique guns, you got to go check out the gun room in Lakewood, denvergunroom.com, denvergunroom.com. And ladies, with the holidays coming up, we'll make this really easy for you. If you've been wondering about what to get your husband, dad, or outdoorsman in your life, a gift card to the gun room is a home run. denvergunroom.com, 303-237-1300, 303-237-1300. We've got Ron Weinberg coming up. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is 710 KNUS.